Joining me now is Colonel Rob Maness. Let's get an update from the Colonel on what he thinks about the ceasefire and where things are going. Colonel, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Brandon. Thanks for having me back with you.
Great to have you back with us.
Is that your or my dog?
No, that's mine. Those are mine. Let's go right away to, oh my word, somebody just came into the studio, that's for sure. That's the somebody's invaded my territory talk. Let's go to a clip from, what do you call them now? The Cartoon Network? Is that what you call them?
The Cartoon Fox News Network? Yeah, yes. You betcha.
Yeah, here's Brian Kilmeade. Watch and listen to this. Here we go.
And with the Nimitz now there, a third aircraft carrier in the region, do you believe the B-2s and B-52s are on board?
Well, the B-2s and the B-52s would be deployed from a land base, and that most likely would be Diego Garcia, but they can also deploy out of the United States and be refueled en route. We did that in past conflicts in the Middle East. The carriers coming in there, the two that'll be in area, that'll be able to sustain a very robust fighter-bomber kind of presence.
Okay, so, Colonel, he thought you would put those massive planes with their huge wingspan on, and they weigh so much. He thought that they could go on the system that, you know, the catapult system that shoots them off of an aircraft carrier. This is Brian Kilmeade. This is Fox News. This is the Cartoon Network.
Brian earned the nickname Cartoon Kilmeade from me that day. I've learned a lot from President Trump over the years watching him. And Cartoon Kilmeade is the chief nutty commentator for the Cartoon Fox News Network. I was shocked when I saw that. I was up early and watching. It was an early morning piece. And luckily, he had Captain Brent Sadler, retired Navy, there to blow right by that and help him over that.
Well, he's not alone. He's not alone over there. Here is, what's her name? The former press secretary for Trump, the first time, McEnany. Here she is. This is how simple she thinks this operation would be.
America First is not sitting in a beach chair and using words. It's taking decisive action when we can take out Fordo with one swoop of an airplane.
Take it out with one swoop of an airplane. Wow. This is the analysis you get at Cartoon Fox.
There it is. One airplane with two bombs, and that's it. And when I told Grant Stinchfield the night before the strike that it was going to take an air campaign and probably 14 to somewhere between 14 and 30 of these bombs to get this job done, I was attacked not by lefties, but by MAGA people saying that's not true. Fox says it's one airplane, no boots on the ground. Well, also with this type of target, I said that the best way to take it out was exactly what even Kilmeade managed to get out of his mouth in that interview, and that in the first interview we saw, and that was that the best way to attack that target to ensure operational and goal success was to put an IDF commando team into that target and then take them out with whatever materials they needed to pick up and destroy the rest of it. That's the only way to know for sure. And as you can see right now, the president's being attacked using shaky or shady defense intelligence analysis reports that have come out saying, assessing that no damage was done, even to the Fordow facility. Well, I saw the 6 penetrator holes, which means there were 2 weapons at a minimum put in each of those. The general said they dropped 14 total on 2 sites. Then there were 12 put on the Fordo site. Nothing that was in there, if it was in there, is going to survive 12 of those. Nothing.
So where is the highly enriched uranium running around? Is it running around Iran? Is it running around Iran somewhere tonight?
Well, that's the part we really don't know, publicly anyway. I think the president and his team probably have classified information on that issue, but the public information, we don't know. We do know there were satellite photos that were available on the open source networks that showed there were trucks there. Look, the Iranians had a lot of lead time on this. He gave them 60 days, then the Israelis started their thing, and they heard the drum beats leading up to it. over the first 9 days. So, I mean, they had a lot of time to try to evacuate some of their equipment and stuff out of these sites. And you should assume that they at least got some of it out. So the centrifuges are not small, and it's a lot of equipment. But the highly enriched uranium, you're talking about, I think, about 60 kilograms of the material. So nobody should be surprised if it was evacuated and it's running around loose out there. Nobody. But that doesn't mean that we didn't destroy the targets that the president said we destroyed. We still have to wait on the final bomb damage assessment, which could take weeks because you have to pull all of these intelligence reports together and all this data. I mean, everything from seismic data to communications data and information flow, all kinds of things like that. In order to make a really good assessment of how much damage you caused to a hardened and deeply buried target like this.
Here was President Trump on his way out of the White House today toward Marine One before he went to the NATO summit. Listen to this.
Happy with Iran either, but I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Tell me about the frustration level here. What do you think is going on in his mind and in his world? Who is he really frustrated with?
There's a couple of things operating here. One is the president's intent. He clearly stated his intent. The Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State, and the Vice President, all his political appointees to do this type of work, all stated his clear intent, which was we're not at war with Iran. We're only at war with their nuclear capability. We're not looking for regime change, and that's it, right? But I do have more targets, and I'll continue my air campaign if they don't come to the peace table. That's the president's intent. Well, unfortunately, with warfare, it doesn't quite always work the way the commander's intent happens. And look, when the president made the decision after being begged by the Israelis to do this job, he must have answered the two questions I had to his satisfaction, which was, why does the United States need to do this? And why does it need to do it now? And the answer that I was looking for that one was there's an existential threat to us, the United States of America, not just our troops, but to us, the country here at home. So he must have had answers to those kind of questions, because I would imagine he's the smartest commander-in-chief we probably ever had. That I would imagine he was asking those questions and demanding answers to them.
So do you think there is an existential threat to the country from Iran? Do you think that's what he was told?
I don't have any information that shows that, but as far as directly on our soil, do they want to do it? Yeah, they have a stated goal to do it, but I haven't seen any facts yet that show that. But I don't have classified access, so I don't know. I'm assuming the president had the information he needed to make the decision. So the Israelis begged him. They didn't do the commando raid. They should have, but they didn't do it. They begged America to come in to this war. So the president made his decision, and we did this mission. And he openly stated after the mission, when he made the announcement, that we have more targets and we will continue this if you don't come to the peace table. Here's the thing that happened, though. When he did that, the wheel of war turned, and the United States and the president of the United States became the commander-in-chief of an allied operation. Something that Bibi Netanyahu forgot when he gave permission to launch those aircraft after the ceasefire was broken by the Iranians. That's why the president is mad, I would imagine.
So
I would be too, because the president is now commander-in-chief of this allied operation, and he also personally negotiated the ceasefire, and he gave an order to his subordinate, Bibi Netanyahu, and Netanyahu didn't follow the orders. So, look, they became a protectorate, a real protectorate, not the one that people complain about when we entered this war. This should show people a couple of things that you've seen even people supposedly that support the president say is that he's owned by Israel and all that stuff. Well, that's never been true to my knowledge. And I don't accept it. And he just proved it. Because I think he's more mad at Prime Minister Netanyahu than the Iranians, because he's now his direct subordinate in this allied force war operation. Whether the President Trump intended that or not, that's what happens when you do that, and when you follow on and negotiate an agreement, and one of the combatants is on your team now, and you're in charge of the team as the commander-in-chief, and you tell them to do something, you expect them to do it, right? Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. So
BB didn't do it. BB didn't do it because he didn't figure that out either. And that's what President Trump's frustrated about.
Has President Trump also been failed by...
What do you mean?
Has some of his advisors failed him, do you think?
I don't know, but he's being pulled in a lot of directions. One is the direction of the America First, peace through strength supporters of MAGA, like I am. That's why I supported him primarily from a national security perspective, which said two things: no new wars, but Iran's not going to have a nuclear weapon. I remember that. That's why you hear me talk the way I do about it. I'm not yelling and screaming and stomping my feet. Because I understand both of those things aren't necessarily, they don't have to be mutually exclusive, but by and large they are.
What do you make of this spat between like Mark Levin and Steve Bannon? And I mean,
that's what I'm talking about. The neocons represented by Mark Levin and Lindsey Graham. Last night, Lindsey Graham stood on the Senate floor for a couple of hours, I think, advocating for the United States to do a regime change in Iran. That's what Levin and that crowd wants. Bannon is in the same line of thinking and alignment that I'm in, I'm pretty sure. And we're all on social media talking and making enough noise so the president will hear it, because we know he's getting pulled in different directions on this. And you see that the messaging, and it always has some impact, the public messaging that people like Bannon and Posobiec, and in a smaller way, I'm sure myself, may get put into that mix. When we do that kind of messaging, he's able to hear us in spite of the big megaphones from the Cartoon Fox network and people like Lindsey Graham, which he listens to them. He does listen to them. So we have to speak up. It's not that we don't trust the president. It's that we don't trust them to get us into another war by convincing him of one thing being true when it's not. That's what's going on. And there's all kinds of efforts still by people inside the government that are opposed to this president's policies that are doing things like setting up the media hits on Tulsi Gabbard to say she's on the way out and all that, when really they're in alignment. They even got the president to publicly almost dress her down when he was getting on Air Force One the other day. The media did.
And yet we see Mark Levin just reportedly just got appointed today to a DHS advisory board.
Yeah. And today he tweeted out attacking the president.
What did he say?
That's right.
What did he say? I
don't know yet what he said, but I saw the reporting on it before I went into my show, which is what I've been doing the last couple hours. So, because the president doesn't want to do regime change. The president said in an interview on Air Force One this morning.
Well, he said he didn't like the.
I don't know if you had that clip.
He said he doesn't like the word ceasefire. That's what Levin said. That's one of the things he said.
Yeah, that's one of the things he said. But the president this morning, after the F-bomb drop at the helicopter, got on Air Force One after it was airborne and made a comment about, I don't like regime change. I'm not looking for regime change. It creates chaos. That tells you that Lindsey Graham and Mark Levin's efforts to sign the United States of America's children up to die on the soil of Iran doing an unnecessary and meaningless regime change that is guaranteed to fail every single time didn't work so far. That's what they're upset about. They exploded this morning. Mm-hmm. They exploded.
Listen to this clip from President Trump.
Do you want to see regime change in Iran?
No. If there was. But no, I don't want it. I'd like to see everything calm down as quickly as possible. regime change takes chaos. And ideally, we don't want to see so much chaos. So we'll see how it does. You know, the Iranians are very good traders, very good business people, and they got a lot of oil. They should be fine. They should be able to rebuild and do a good job. They're never going to have nuclear, but other than that, they should do a great job.
Do you want to see regime change?
All right, so obviously that would upset Mark Levin. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, they're putting a lot of effort. A senator standing on the Senate floor for several hours advocating regime change last night. They're putting a lot of effort into this, and they failed, so they're upset.
And just to be clear,
their followers
I would be fine. I'm all for regime change. I just want it to come from the Iranian people, not the U.S. government.
And if you listen to what President Trump said closely, that's where he is at, especially when you line it up with the tweet he put out, I think it was yesterday, about make Iran great again. Regime change is a dirty word or not politically correct, and those kind of things. That was giving moral support to the Iranian people that want to do regime change. No president's ever done that. And that's where he's at, too, that if it comes, but it's not going to be from us.
All right.
That's what Graham and Levin are upset.
And yet some of the MAGA folks can't seem to understand the common sense of this conversation and are attacking you and others. Closing comment on that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I've been attacked aggressively today because I called Mark Levin out. He made some comment, I think it was to Bannon maybe, on Twitter about, well, it's in your DNA, or maybe it was to Carlson about being an isolationist. And the tweet, one-line tweet was, it's in your DNA. So I screenshotted that when somebody sent it to me. And I just told the story. Well, my DNA goes all the way back to the Continental Army, and every generation up to me and my son so far has served in every war. You're not going to don't call me an isolationist. That's an insult that's intended to smear us to get your way. And we're not. What we demand is that our country go into putting our kids in harm's way in a deliberative way. And I've been attacked very aggressively by people on that for even using the DNA term when Mark Levin's the one that put it out there and brought it up.
Yep.
Come on.
Yeah, MAGA folks, you need good information. I'm sorry.
Let me just say one more thing. Mm-hmm. You idiots that are doing that, you're attacking the most pro-Israel people the president's supporter group.
That's right.
You're dumb. Yep. You're idiots for doing that. Mm-hmm. Stop doing that, and let's get on with the mission.
100%.
And if you have connection to Bibi Netanyahu, let him know the commander-in-chief's now President Donald J. Trump, and he needs to follow orders.
But that's what you get when you get your information from Fox News instead of being at Worldview Tube, where you get great analysis.
You didn't say it right. You didn't say it right.
Cartoon from the
Fox
cartoon
News.
Fox News. When you don't get your information from Colonel Rob Maness, David Pine, and many others have been trying to explain this to you for weeks on end, even before this last skirmish started. RobManess.com, each and every day, 2 p.m. Central, 3 Eastern, right here at WorldViewTube.com. You can follow him on X and at RobManess.com. As always, Colonel, thank you for your service to our country that continues today and for being a part of our broadcast team.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you. We'll be right back with David Pine.
Consumers often ask, what should I expect when I take the Bella Grace elixir? And the answer is varied. It really depends on what your health and wellness needs are. I would consider this as your foundational core product for a whole range of health and wellness issues. Let me give you a few examples. If you're a little bit older and you have some joint health issues, some problems with mobility and discomfort, the elixir is going to be your best friend. If you have some skin health issues, wrinkles, hydration, aging, all of those elements are going to be benefited from the elixir, including age spots. Now, if you're in a younger demographic, maybe visual health is where you need some assistance. Eye fatigue, dry eyes, all of those are going to be benefited by the elixir. It's a core product because it benefits so many.
We live in uncertain times. In fact, we live at a time when our own governments all over the world are warning us that there could be big problems with our power grid. World War III seems to be right on the horizon. Let me ask you this. Do you have a satellite phone? Should communications go down with cell towers? Do you have a satellite phone to get a hold of that college student or your spouse who travels, whatever it might be, to get a hold of your senior adult parents? We have satellite phones at worldviewtalk.com, and you get the satellite phone for free when you sign up for their very reasonable payment programs for the service. Sign up for the service with a reasonable contract, get the satellite phone for free. Worldviewtalk.com. You'll also find they have, well, what I now have, which is a solar generator. Yeah, I have a gas generator, an LP propane generator, but what if that goes down? I want to back up to my backup. So I now have a solar generator as well. You'll find them at worldviewtalk.com. Check it out today, worldviewtalk.com.